Trump-supporting Iraq war vet turned a quiet Sunday service into a war zone. Police say 40-year-old Thomas Sanford drove his pickup into a Mormon church in Michigan, opened fire with an assault rifle, and set the building on fire. At least 4 people were killed. 8 more were shot. And this all happened before officers gunned him down in the church parking lot. Sanford, a decorated ex-Marine, once seen rocking a Trump 2020 shirt, and the shirt read, "Make liberals cry again." Anyway, he left behind a wife and a son and a community that says he snapped. Neighbors described him as helpful and kind, even as investigators now search his home for bombs. Now, Americans should care. Not just because someone died, not just because this is another tragedy, although it is, but because it's also a story of how war, politics, and guns keep bleeding into everyday life, if you can pardon the expression. Families can't even feel safe in church. The FBI calls it an act of targeted violence, but nobody knows why this happened. Authorities say it could take weeks before we learn what really pushed him to pull the trigger. Now, some immediate thoughts are, well, someone drove a pickup truck into a Mormon church right after or soon after Charlie Kirk was killed by someone in Utah, all right, with some historic familial ties to what? The Mormon church. So some people saw this as a mental health breakdown from a Trump supporter who is exacting revenge on the Mormons because a Mormon, in their mind, attacked and killed Charlie Kirk. Now, the man who killed Charlie Kirk may or may not have been an active Mormon. It seems to me, based on everything we know, he wasn't. But even if he was, there's nothing about Mormonism that caused this death. So it would be absurd on its face. But unfortunately, the world is filled with absurd things that happen when people are not mentally stable. So I also don't know, for the record, this man was still pro-Trump. This man could have had a lot of ideological and political conversions before this moment. So I don't want us to read into it too much, but there is a storyline that we at least need to follow. There's at least a thread that we need to trace to figure out what may have motivated someone to do something like this. But I got to tell you, regardless of the motivation, I'm just tired. I'm tired of people dying. I'm tired of people being in their houses of worship and be killed. I'm tired of people believing something and being killed because they believe it. Look, I don't romanticize resistance. I don't romanticize violence. I don't romanticize democracy. But killing people because they look at the world differently than you is not enough. And plowing into a Mormon church is not acceptable. Much more can be said about that, and it will be. But my 2 things are, 1, let's be wary of the speculation, because we can do harm to people, and we can exact harm on people, and we can invite harm onto people when we do that. Number 2, we gotta get this political culture and political discourse together in the United States so things like this just don't happen. All right. This is not sufficient for some of you. Some of y'all are going to be sad. Some of you are going to be frustrated that I didn't dig into the Republicans more or drill down on MAGA more or whatever. When we have more evidence, I will say more.